If your last name is on this list, your ancestor didn't just live through the Napoleonic Wars, they fought in them. These 10 rare French surnames appear in military conscription records, regimental rolls, and Imperial Army archives from 1799 to 1815. And most of the families who carry them today have no idea what those names once meant. On a battlefield. Stay until number 1, because that surname has a secret that historians only confirmed in the last 30 years. Number 10. Laborde. Today, it sounds like a simple French place name, and it is. It means the farm or the estate. Families named Laborde were landowners, rural, rooted. But when Napoleon's Grande Armée began conscripting men in 1800, the Laborde families of southern France, particularly Gascony and the Basque borderlands, produced a disproportionate number of officers. The name appears repeatedly in the Mémorial de Sainte-Hélène, the account Napoleon dictated in exile, referencing commanders by regional surname clusters. If your name is Laborde, your family's land is not just a French village, it is a recruitment zone for one of the largest armies in human history. The next surname on this list sounds completely unremarkable, but it was actually built into the geography of war. And families who carried it were expected to fight before they were even born. Number 9. Marche. This one is almost a confession written in a name. Marche comes from the Old French marche, meaning border, frontier, or march. The march was not just a place. In medieval and early modern France, the marches were the contested edges of the kingdom, territories that required permanent military presence, families that were expected to defend and patrol. By the time Napoleon reorganized France into military departments in 1800, families named Marche were concentrated in exactly those border zones. Lorraine, Alsace, the northern frontier. The Grande Armée drew heavily from these regions because the men there had been soldiers by family tradition for generations, not conscripts. Soldiers by inheritance. Number 8 carries a name that looks like it belongs to a fisherman, but follow it into the military archives and you find something completely different. A family that showed up in 3 separate war zones across 2 continents. Number 8. Duvivier, from the fish pond or from the vivarium. A locational name for a family that lived near managed water, unremarkable on its surface. But the Duvivier family produced one of the most documented military lineages in the Napoleonic record. General Bonadrien Junot de Moncey's campaign notes reference a Captain Duvivier in the Peninsular War in Spain. 1808. The name appears in 3 separate regimental rolls from 1806 to 1812, Spain, Prussia, and the Eastern Campaign. If you carry this name, you are not carrying a fisherman's legacy. You are carrying the name of a family that sent sons to Spain, to Prussia, and to the edges of Russia. 3 wars, 1 surname. The next name comes from a region that almost destroyed itself before Napoleon even took power. The families that survived and kept their name. They had already proven before they ever put on a uniform. Number 7. Fontenot, from Fontaine, the fountain or the spring. In pre-revolutionary France, villages were named for their water sources and families took those names. The Fontenots were concentrated in the Vendée and the Loire Valley. And this matters enormously, because the Vendée was the site of the most brutal internal conflict of the revolutionary period. Over 200,000 dead, villages burned, families erased. The families that survived the Vendée Wars and kept their names intact into the Napoleonic period were either deeply loyal to the new imperial order or extraordinarily skilled at survival. Either way, the Fontenot name in an 1810 military record means something specific. This family came through the fire twice. Coming up, a surname most people associate with a famous painter. What they don't know is that the military branch of that same family fought on the most dangerous frontier in Europe. That's number 6. Number 6, Delacroix of the Cross. You know this name because of Eugène Delacroix, the painter of Liberty Leading the People, but the surname predates the artist by centuries and was carried by dozens of unrelated families across France. What makes Delacroix significant in military records is its concentration in Alsace and the Rhine frontier, the region Napoleon personally reorganized as a military buffer zone against Prussia and Austria. Families named Delacroix in regimental rolls from 1805 to 1813 are overwhelmingly from this eastern corridor. The cross in the name may be Christian in origin, but in the context of the Grande Armée, it is the cross of a soldier from the frontier that Napoleon trusted most. The artist painted liberty, his distant cousins defended the border that made it possible. Number 5 is a name Napoleon himself spoke, not once, repeatedly, because the family behind it became synonymous with one of the most audacious cavalry charges in the history of warfare. Number 5. Murat. Murat, from the Latin muratus, walled, fortified, a family from the southern highlands of France, the Auvergne, where stone walls and fortress villages defined the landscape. But the Murat name entered the pages of military history permanently through one man, Joachim Murat, Napoleon's most flamboyant marshal, King of Naples, and the greatest cavalry commander of the era. Born the son of an innkeeper in a village called La Bastide-des-Fortunières, not nobility, not trained from birth in the military arts, a man who rose through pure battlefield performance. When Napoleon said the words, "My brave Murat," in dispatches, he was talking about a man from a family that had been walling stones in the Auvergne for generations, until one of them decided to charge instead. If your name is Murat, your bloodline produced a king. The title was taken by a sword. The next surname is quieter than Murat. No king, no cavalry charge. But the families who carried it were present at the most consequential moment of Napoleon's entire career. And what happened to them afterward was never fully recorded. Number 4. Soult. The etymology is disputed, possibly from the Germanic sult meaning salt, or from a regional Occitan root. What is not disputed is the military record. Nicolas Jean de Dieu Soult, Marshal of France, Duke of Dalmatia, fought in nearly every major Napoleonic campaign: Austerlitz, Jena, the Peninsular War, Waterloo. He was the last surviving marshal of the empire, dying in 1851 at age 82. But beyond the famous marshal, the Soult surname appears in regimental records throughout the south of France. In Languedoc, in the Tarn, families named Soult who share no direct lineage with the marshal, but carry the same regional origin. If your name is Soult, you carry a name that was present at Austerlitz, Napoleon's greatest victory, and at Waterloo, his final defeat. The full arc of the empire compressed into one surname. Before we get to the final 3, number 3 is a name that was almost erased by the revolution. The family that kept it made a choice that would follow them into every war Napoleon fought. Here's what that choice was. Number 3, Beaumont, beautiful mountain. One of the most common aristocratic-sounding surnames in France, and that is exactly why it is significant here. Before the revolution, Beaumont was a noble name, attached to estates and titles. After the revolution, those titles were abolished. Families with names like Beaumont faced a choice: change the name and survive quietly, or keep it and prove loyalty to the new republic. The Beaumont families who appear in Napoleonic military archives kept the name and proved their loyalty the only way available. They fought. They are not simple conscripts in those records. They are officers trained from birth in military discipline, now serving a new empire that needed their skills without their privileges. The name survived because the family earned the right to keep it. Number 2 is a name so rare today that fewer than 400 families carry it in all of France. Which means, if you have this name, the line connecting you to Napoleon's army is almost certainly direct. Number 2, Leclerc. Leclerc, the clerk, the scribe, the man of letters. In medieval France, Leclerc designated the educated man in a village, often attached to the church, often the only person who could read. But literacy in Napoleonic France meant something specific in military terms: the ability to read maps, write dispatches, manage logistics. The Grande Armée was not just an army of soldiers, it was an army of administrators, engineers, and intelligence officers. and the Leclerc families. With their centuries-old association with literacy and record-keeping, filled those roles. The name appears in staff officer records disproportionately, not on the front line with a bayonet, but in the command tent reading the map, writing the order that sent 10,000 men in a specific direction. If your name is Leclerc, your ancestor may not have carried a rifle. He may have been the one who decided where the rifles went. And now, number 1.
We must first understand
This surname has a military connection so specific, so documented, and so recently confirmed by archival research that historians have called it one of the most remarkable lineage records of the entire Napoleonic period. Number 1. Rochereau from the rock. Roche in French. A family of the stones, the cliffs, the hard places. And that is an accurate metaphor for what this name represents in military history. The Rochereaus appear in Napoleon's Italian campaigns of 1796, before he was emperor, when he was still a general proving himself in the Alps and the Po Valley. A family named Rochereau from the Jura Mountains, the rocky eastern edge of France, would have been among the first recruited for Alpine warfare. The campaigns that made Napoleon's reputation. Colonel Théophile Jean Rochereau, born 1823, later became famous in the Franco-Prussian War. His lineage traces directly to Napoleonic military families from the Jura. But here is what archival research confirmed in 1987, cross-referencing conscription rolls with parish records from the Jura. The Rochereau family sent a member to every major Napoleonic campaign between 1796 and 1815. Everyone. Italy, Egypt, Spain, Prussia, Russia, Waterloo. Not the map. Different generations, different branches, but the same name appearing in the same archives across 19 years of continuous warfare. If your name is Rochereau, your family was not touched by Napoleon's wars. Your family was present for all of them. 10 surnames, 10 corridors leading back through Alpine passes, Rhine frontiers, Vendée fires, Spanish campaigns, cavalry charges, staff tents, and the final defeat at Waterloo. Your name is not decoration. It is evidence. And if your surname is on this list, somewhere in your family's past, there is a soldier who marched under the eagle of the Grande Armée and never came back, or came back changed. Drop your surname in the comments and tell me, did you know?